why did I write this book? And America is such a great place, and I am so glad that I was born here. You know, I have traveled to 57 different countries, gotten to know lots of people in a lot of other ways of life, but this remains the place that is the land of dreams. And I know a lot of people like to criticize our nation and demonize it and say it's responsible for a lot of horrible things. And yet I see a lot of people trying to get in here and not a lot of people trying to get out. So I'm not sure that that really is all that legitimate, to be honest with you. But, you know, growing up, in poverty with a lot of disadvantages, the thing that was really great is I was still able to focus on my dream of becoming a doctor. It was the only thing I ever wanted to do. I skipped right by policemen and firemen and went straight to doctor. And, I loved anything that had to do with medicine. I even liked going to the doctor's office. And I would gladly sacrifice a shot just to be able to smell those alcohol swabs, It was so cool. And, on through the whole process, were there a lot of hurdles along the way? Absolutely. Tremendous hurdles along the way. But nevertheless, it was still possible to realize that dream. And I want to make sure that that continues to be the case. And one of the reasons that it was possible is because we have a system that did everything possible to create fairness, even when there were people in the system who did not want to be fair. And that's why it is so important that we must preserve our Constitution. Virtually all Americans know that we have a Constitution, but how many people actually know what's in it? And how many people actually know what's behind it? And of course, it is the mechanism that guarantees our liberties and that provides the guidelines for the restraint of government. Because our founders recognized that it was the natural tendency of government to grow and to invade every aspect of your life and to try to control your life. That's what people do. And that's what they wanted to avoid by doing this. And that's why it's so important that we understand it. You know, in 1831, when Alexis de Tocqueville came to America to study our great country, because the Europeans were just so flabbergasted that this fledgling nation, barely 50 years old, was already competing with them on virtually every level. And he was going to really dissect it and see what was going on. But one of the things that really impressed him was how educated the people were. You know, anybody finishing the second grade was completely literate. He could find a mountain man on the outskirts of society, and the guy could read the newspaper and could tell him how our government worked. And nowadays, we don't seem to emphasize, civics and things like that in school anymore. And I'm sure some of you have seen some of those man-on-the-street interview situations where they go out and ask just really basic questions, and people have no clue what you're talking about. And, they think, you say, well, who's the first president? They say, Reagan? I mean, they have no idea. And it's funny, but it's so sad because, our founders, and particularly Franklin and Jefferson, emphasized education, and they emphasized being informed. And they said, our system of government and our freedoms are dependent on a well-informed and educated populace, because they recognize that if the people were not well-informed, that they would be easy to manipulate. And all it would take was dishonest politicians and a complicit news media, and off you would go into another direction very, very quickly.